This is section 3.1, the rectangular coordinate system and equations in two variables. What you see in front of you is what we call the rectangular coordinate system or Cartesian coordinate system. In this system, we have ordered pairs, and they're represented by an x value and a y value. And the x value corresponds to a value on the x-axis and a value on the y-axis. Let me give you some examples of ordered pairs. So this ordered pair -2, 1, or this point has a coordinate value of x value of -2 and a y value of 1. Here's another example. The x value is 1, the y value is -2 in this ordered pair. So one more. Eventually, you're going to have to know how to plot a point, find the point on the coordinate system, or given a point on the coordinate plane, you need to give me the value of that ordered pair. And we're going to be doing that on this lesson. Next, as you can see, the x and y axis have 4 areas here. This area, or this region, we call this quadrant 1. This is quadrant 2, 3, and 4. We begin from the positive side of the x-axis, counterclockwise, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Also, where the x and y-axis meet is what we call the origin, and we're going to be using the origins to plot points or to find the coordinate value of points. Let's go ahead and move on to the next slide. It says identify the coordinates of each point labeled in the figure, name the quadrant in which each point lies, or state the point lies on the x-axis or y-axis. So here's one. So we need to give an x value and a y value of this point. So from the origin, I'm just basically going to start counting. First, I am going to give the x value of the ordered pair. So I'm going to travel along the x-axis, and I count from here to here, which is 4 units. Since I'm going to the right, it's a positive number, so it's 4. So the x value of this point is 4. Then I need to travel to point A. Since I'm going up, that is, I'm going up 2 units. Going up is positive, that's why the y value of this point is 2. The quadrant is 1. Let's move on to number 2. Same directions. Here's B, point B. Let's find the coordinate value of this point. So again, from the origin, I'm going to travel along the x-axis first. Notice that I'm going to the left of the x-axis, which I'm on the negative side. That's why this is the distance, or this is -3. Then from here, the x value of this ordered pair is -3. Then I need to travel up. Since I went up, it's +3. That's why the y value of this ordered pair is +3. Now point B is in quadrant number 2. Next slide. Same directions. Here's 3. So from the origin, I'm going to start moving. But you're going to notice that to get to C, there's not going to be any movement traveling horizontally. Because I'm basically going to have to go straight down from the origin. Since I'm not moving to the left nor the right, the x value of this point is 0. Now, how do I get to C? Since I'm going down, the y value of this point is going to be -1. So that's why the ordered pair of point C is 0, -4. And this is not in quadrant 1, 2, 3, nor 4, but it lies on the y-axis. So that's why this is the second part of the problem. Let's go on to the next slide. It says determine whether or not the ordered pair satisfies the equation. So here's number 4. There's 2 points. So all we're going to have to do is basically take this ordered pair, which this first value that you see here, 4, represents an x value, and this represents a y value, and I'm going to plug them into this equation. So when I do that, this is what I get. I get for the y, I plug in -5. For the x, I plug in 4, and I have this here. I'm not sure if this is going to be equal, so that's why I have a question mark here. And then at this point, I'm basically going to work on the right-hand side. Gives me 8. I simplify this. I get 5, and I know that this is not true. Since -5 is not equal to 5, this ordered pair does not satisfy this equation, so the answer is no. For point B, I'm basically going to do the same process. The only thing that is going to change is instead of this is going to be the x value that I'm going to plug in, and this is the y value that I'm going to plug in into my equation here. So once I do that, this is what I get. I am going to simplify the right hand side. I get -4 minus 3. I simplify this to a little bit of adding of integers, and I end up with -7 on one side and -7 on the other side, and I know that this is equal. Since this is a true statement, this ordered pair satisfies the equation, so that's why this is a yes. Let's move on to number 5. Same directions, problem changes. Same idea for point A. This is going to be my x value. This is going to be my y value. So I plug it in, 3/4 times -4, because that's my x value, plus 2 times 3/2, which is my y value. I am going to work with the left hand side. Once I simplify this, I know that this becomes -3, because these cancel out, and a positive and a negative is a negative. And again here, to simplify, and I end up with +3. And I know that -3 plus 3 is equal to 0. And 0 is equal to 0, so that's why this is a yes. This ordered pair satisfied this equation. B, substitute. You have to use a little bit of pre-algebra here, and multiply 3/4 times 1, multiply 2 times -3/2. Notice that the 2's go away here, so you end up with 3/4 minus, because positive times negative is negative, and just 3. And I'm not even going to bother to simplify this, because I know that this is not going to equal to 0. So now I know that this point does not satisfy the equation. So this is a no. Let's move on to the next slide. It says find an ordered pair that satisfies the equation -4x minus 4 equals 5 by letting y equal to 7. All they're asking you to do here is wherever you see a y, you're going to plug in 7 into this equation. So this is where we see the y, so I'm going to substitute 7 for that y. So once I do that, this is what I get. -4x minus 7 equals 5. And then all I need to do with this equation is solve for x. So I am going to add 7 to both sides. I end up with -4x equals 12. I am going to divide both sides by -4. Once I do that, I get x equals -3. So my answer has to be an ordered pair. So this is why the answer is -3, 7, because the x value is -3, and I was given that y is equal to 7. Here's number 7. Same directions as number 6. Now instead of working with y, I'm going to be substituting x into my equation here. So then I have the following: 5 times -4 minus 3y equals -2. I am going to have you figure this one out, and we can go over the answer in class. Let's go to the next slide. It says use the equation to complete the table. Use the table to list some of the ordered pairs that satisfy the equation. So here's the problem. This is a table that they're talking about. So you're going to have to give me a y value when x is equal to -4, y value when x is equal to 0, and you get the point. Once you have the x and the y value, you just express it as an order pair. So here we go. To find the first y value, I am going to substitute x equals -4 into my equation. Once I do that, you should be able to follow the operations here. Multiply, this is 12, 12 plus 4 is 16. So that's why the y value is 16, and the ordered pair is -4, 16. For the next y value, same process. Where I see an x, I am going to plug in 0. This is what I get. I know that this becomes 0, and that's why it is equal to 4. Y value is 4, ordered pair is 0, 4. Keep going. Now x equals 1/6. I plug it in where the x is. This becomes -1/2 once I simplify. So I have -1/2 plus 4 is equal to 3.5 or 3.5. So you can use either one, 3.5 or 3.5. I'm using 3.5, so this is the order pair. The last one, when x is equal to 3, the y value, once I'm plugging x equals 3 into my equation, I simplify. This is -9. -9 plus 4 is equal to -5. So this is how you complete the table. Let's move on to number 9. So now this is going to be just slightly different because you don't have y equals something, but we're just going to treat it the way it is. So I am going to basically plug in the x value into my equation where the x is. So once I do that, I get the following. I go through the math here. This becomes -3. I am going to solve this equation, which means that I'm going to add 3 to both sides. I end up with -3y equals 6. Divide both sides by -3. Excuse me, -3. Funny looking 3, but you get the point. And I end up with y is equal to -2. It's there. So the ordered pair is -6, 2. Let me go ahead and get rid of that. Then I am going to plug in x equals 0 where the x is. This is what I get. I solve. This one's a little bit easier. Divide both sides by -3. And I end up with y is equal to -1. So the y value is -1. The ordered pair is 0, -1. 5. When x is equal to 5. Let me get rid of that. I get the following. 1/2 times 5 is 5/2. At this point, I am going to multiply both sides by 2. Once I do that, you should see that I get the following. Take away 5 from both sides, and I end up with -6y equals 1. Divide both sides by -6. Once I do that, I get y is equal to -1/6. So the y value is -1/6. The ordered pair is 5, -1/6. This concludes the video. In class, you will have an opportunity to ask questions if you want me to clarify any of these problems.